Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome to some Christmas beer. Of course it is that time of year again. I'm wearing my Christmas Star Wars jumper as I so often like to do, and that must mean it is time for some proper Christmas beer. This time last year I reviewed two beers from Brew York. One of those beers sounded very much the same as this one, which is the Fairytale of Brew York, except for this time I've got the 2022 edition. And I also reviewed a beer called Nightmare of Brew York, except again this time I have the 2022 edition. In this video I'm going to be reviewing everything to do with the Fairytale of Brew York, the lower ABV, more sessionable Christmas beer, and in the following video I'll be reviewing this, the Gingerbread Imperial Stout at 9.8%, Nightmare of Brew York, and I'll be telling you which of the two I prefer. So please make sure you're subscribed to check that one out. On to today's main event then. This is Brew York's Fairytale of Brew York 2022, a Stollen Milk Stout at 4.9%. Every year they make a variety of Christmas beers, not just these two, they normally do about 4 or 5, but these are the stouts, really, which is what I'm mainly interested in at this time of year. And the base, I think, stays relatively similar, but the additive changes somewhat. I can't remember what this one was last year, if I'm honest. I'll put a picture on screen now if I do recall. But yeah, this one is a Stollen Milk Stout, which I don't know how I feel about that, because Stollen, well, it could go either way for me. And I do recall that last year, the lower ABV one, the equivalent of this beer, to be honest, wasn't all that. So I'm hoping for significant improvements. So let's not waste any time before we get into it then. Here is a quick look at the can. In true Brew York style, it has the standard kind of format for their cans. A load of fantastic cartoon artwork on either side of the label. And then onto the back we've got a load of descriptors and tells us what this beer should taste like, but we will taste it first before we take a look at that. But yeah, loads of festive theme on there. Absolutely stunning. In the glass then, I mean, it's a jet black beer with a nice toffee coloured head on it. If I hold it up to the light, there is actually not a lot bleeding through, if at all. When I poured this, I thought it looked a bit thin, a bit brown. I thought we were going to be able to see through that, maybe in a different glass, but in this one, to be fair to them, it is a jet black beer. Right then, aromas. It's distinctly Christmas, as you would probably expect with the Stollen description. It's very malt forward, a bit bready, a bit of a buttery pastry vibe, and of course heaps of cinnamon, raisins, sultana, and just a hint of stout roastiness to let you know, well, you're still very much in the beer ballpark. To be fair, for a Christmas themed beer, aromas pretty much spot on. Let's get into it. Cheers. You know what? They made it better than last year's, for sure. It's pretty smooth, a little creamy, flows down very nicely. If you were to take away the festive, intense flavours, let's say the cinnamon, the raisins, almost the mince pie parts, actually that would be considered a very, very elegant milk stout, I think. Whether there's actually lactose in it or not, I don't know. We'll find out later, but it's definitely got that kind of vibe to it, and some subtle roasty, subtle coffee hints. Again, just let you know, this is still a stout, but just a very, very easy to drink one. Right then, I'm going to top this up because the whole can would not fit in this glass, and then we will do the top to bottom taste test. So, initially, light, very light carbonation on the front of the tongue. It is not flat, but it's pretty low, and to be honest, absolutely spot on for this beer style for me. It's a little sweet up front, but to be honest, it's got something of a mineral rich quality, but otherwise pretty much basic stout. Next up, the spices get laid on thick. To be honest, it's mainly cinnamon, maybe a bit of nutmeg. To be honest, coming off the back of Halloween and then into Christmas beers, I have had a lot of cinnamon heavy beers recently, and, well, full disclosure, I might be getting a bit bored with them already. But I have to say, this delivers on those notes, but it isn't too much. It isn't too brash. And I think they've got the balance on that spice profile pretty much spot on. Middle of the palate then, you start to get a bit of nice roastiness. Very, very tame, very sweet coffee hints. Nice lick of vanilla even. And then on the swallow. It goes a little bit spritzy. It is a bit of a thin beer, I'll be honest, but it's sessionable stuff. It's probably not an issue here. And with that spritziness, you get a few kind of deep, rich, boozy raisin sultanas, mince pie vibes, but it's low key, it's subtle, it's not overly intensive. And on the aftertaste, you start to get that distinctly spiced bread, a bit of the buttery pastry thing I mentioned on the aroma, and also just a lingering of all of that cinnamon spice palette you got up front. And to be honest, I really am far from disappointed. This year, they've definitely nailed it. Right then, let's take a look at the can. On the front of the can then it says Brew York, Fairytale of Brew York 2022, a Stollen milk stout at 4.9%. I said I didn't know if it got lactose in it, but I was going to describe it as a milk stout. I'd already read it, it's on the front of the can, so yes, it probably almost certainly has. On the back, in very small writing, so do excuse if I end up squinting, it says Fairytale of Brew York 2022 takes inspiration from the beloved festive treat of German Stollen. Our milk stout is loaded with pistachios and marzipan to bring a strong, nutty flavour, balanced delicately with candied lemon and orange. A spice blend of cinnamon, cardamom and allspice helps to enhance the festive flavours, and additional lactose adds a rich, creamy body to our annual Christmas stout. Be sure to check out this year's other seasonal brews, Nightmare of Brew York, which is the other one that we've got, Dreams of Brew York, and Barrel-Aged Nightmare of New York, which is a bigger, more amped up version of the other one that I've got. The malts in this are pale, crystal 150, crystal 400, flaked barley, malted oats, carafa 3, and chocolate. They always give an arbitrary rating for their beers, and on this one, it's well, it's 5 out of 5 Christmases. So, you know, probably not a surprise. The ingredients are water, barley, oats, lactose, malted dextrin, which I think is a bit of a controversial one, but it certainly adds a bit of mouthfeel. Hops, orange, lemon, vanilla, tonka bean, cinnamon, cardamom, allspice, natural flavourings, and yeast. The tonka bean explains that slightly vanilla-y thing at the end. Unfined and unfiltered. It's low hop, low fruit, low sweetness, which I'm not sure I agree with, low mouthfeel, which I do agree with, low bitterness, yes, and pretty strong on the malts, according to them. There's loads of information on the back here, so if you get a can of this, you get spend a long time looking at all of that stuff. But you know what, they've said they've put heaps of different things in here. There's allspice in here that we didn't pick up on. Tonka bean, well, we didn't pick up directly, but I guess that was the vanilla. You know, an array of things that maybe, I mean, the marzipan, for example. I mean, it's always hard to say when you know about something and you're then actively seeking it out. It does have that vibe, but along with everything else that's in there, it kind of just delivers a fruity, boozy, cinnamon Christmas package, which probably was the intention. And I suspect that although some of those other flavours aren't immediately recognisable, they probably help a lot in making this, well, as well balanced as it is. Final thoughts then. Well, I've already said it. They've nailed it this year. Last year's lower ABV stout, Christmas stout from Brew York, was, to be honest, a bit of a disappointment. This one, I'm actually digging it quite a lot. And that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already subscribed, if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time for the other beer. Cheers.